So okay, so we'll continue the last class bit. So that is what fluctuating stress is. Okay, so you come to know, so what is the meaning of fluctuating stress? Okay, and what are the different mathematical models you have in fluctuating stress? Okay, so one is fluctuating stress or the variable stress. Okay, so another one is reversed stress. Okay, and third one is completely reversed stress. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
No. So we also come to know what are the main causes of fatigue failure. Okay, so fatigue failure is going to occur because of the cyclic loads. Because of the cyclic loads, so one time it is going to subjected to compression, another time it is going to subjected to tensile. So as this causes, it is going to get a little more plastic deformation, so that makes the fatigue failure of the component. So even though it has a lot of ultimate strength as well as yield strength. Okay. So the fatigue failure is as defined as the time delayed fracture under cyclic loading. Okay. Fatigue failure is defined as time delayed fracture under cyclic loading. Okay. So you also come to know the what are the reasons to get the failure. Okay. So regions of discontinuity such as oil holes, keyways, screw threads. Okay, that is one reason. Another one reason is regions of irregularities in machining operations. Okay, so if we have a irregular machining surfaces, if you add the scratches, if you add a stamp mark, if you add the inspection mark, so those things also lead to the fatigue or failure. Okay. So next one is because of internal cracks due to defects in materials. Okay. So like blowholes, flaws. Okay, and some porosities. So because of machining process or because of the casting process. So along with these, so you can clearly specify what are the distinct areas of failure. So now distinct areas of fatigue failures. One is the region indicating slow growth of the crack with a fine fibrous appearance. Okay. It will just give a small line type of crack, so which goes on increasing as the load is takes place. Okay. Another reason is of a sudden failure with a coarse granular appearance. So another one reason is coarse granular appearance. One reason is the growth of slow growth of a crack. Okay, so with a fine fibrous appearance. Okay. Along with this one, so you also come to know what are the other factors which are going to be affect the fatigue failure. So it is what a size out and shape, and its mean stress, amplitude stress, and stress concentration factors, corrosion and creep. Okay, so these are other factors which are also associated with the fatigue failure. Okay. Now, so what are the limits you need to find out whether the component is safe under fatigue loading or not. Okay. So in static loading, what happens? You are going to find out the static stress. Okay. Then you are going to compare that static stress with the allowable stress or design stress. Then you are going to say, so now component is safe. If the induced static stress is more than the allowable stress or more than the design stress, then you are going to say component is going to make a failure. Okay. So is it right? Similarly, if the component is subjected to fluctuating loads, okay, so what is the base to design for safer site? Okay. What is the base to design the component under safer site? Okay. So now for that reason, so you must have some value. Okay. You must have some limit. You must have some strength. So that strength is called as a endurance strength or endurance limit, fatigue limit or fatigue strength. Okay. Now this fatigue or endurance limit of a material is defined as when a component is subjected to maximum amplitude of completely reversed cycles or completely reversed stress that a standard specimen can sustain for unlimited number of cycles, okay, unlimited number of cycles without fatigue failure, without fatigue failure. So, example, in a automobile you have noted a crankshaft here, right. In automobile you have noted a crankshaft, okay. So, crankshaft is connected to connecting rod, so that connecting rod is connected to piston, right. So, as the piston oscillates, so the connecting rod will push down and push up, okay. Now, you just imagine, so what is the type of load it is going to act on the crankshaft. So, sometimes it is going to be subjected to compressive bending stress, sometimes it is subjected to tensile bending stress, is it right. So, now to design that particular crankshaft, okay, so you must select some amount of fatigue strength, because it is subjected to n number of cycles, okay, both completely reversed, one time it is under tensile, one time it is under a compressive, okay, right. So, in general way, the maximum number of or the unlimited number of cycles a material can sustain, okay, under completely reversed stresses. So, that limit you can call it as a endurance limit. You should not make a failure. You should not make a failure. Let us see here. Okay. Now, we will just draw one diagram here. Okay. Now, we will go for strength here. Okay. So, sorry. Now, I will go for cycles here. Okay. Now, I will go for strength here. For example, now if we have an 1000 cycles here, okay, so it can have a strength of 90 megapascal. Okay, I am just giving a concept here, strength of 90 megapascal, right. Suppose if we have an cycle of 2000, okay, so it may have an strength of 45 megapascal. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Ah,
Someone is trying to admit it, sir.
now it is auto admit, don't worry.
Okay.
Okay, so don't worry about the admit. So that's what I said. So you are going to not you it is take attendance automatically. Okay, so it will admit the students automatically, and it will give the time stamp, how many time you have exited, and how many minutes you have stayed in the class. Okay, it will give all the details. Okay, right. Now come here. Suppose if the cycle is 3000, okay, so it may have 10 megapascal, right. Now you just look out what is the definition. So the definition is the fatigue or endurance limit of a material is defined as the maximum amplitude, okay. Now in this case 3000 is the maximum amplitude, is it right. So 3k is the maximum amplitude, okay. This is what maximum cycles, okay. So it can sustain, okay, maximum amplitude of completely reversed stresses, okay. That means completely reversed means, so if you consider a sine curve here for completely reversed, so now sometime it is under tensile, sometime it is a compressive, tensile, compressive, it goes on variation, okay. So now in this case 3000 cycles is the maximum, okay. Now what is the limit here? Limit is 10 megapascal. Limit is 10 megapascal. Okay. Now, if a component is using for 3000 cycles with a minimum value of 10 megapascal, so the component should not fail. Okay. The component should not fail, right. So, it should not fail. That is the endurance limit or fatigue limit. Concept is clear. I will repeat the definition again. So the fatigue or endurance limit of a component or of a material is defined as the maximum amplitude of completely reverse stresses that the standard specimen can sustain without for unlimited number of cycles, okay, for unlimited number of cycles without fatigue failure, okay. So that you can call it as a endurance limit, fatigue limit, okay, right. So now in this case limit is how much? 10 megapascal is the limit, so we can use it for maximum number of amplitudes, okay, clear, okay. So now one more term is associated here, that is what a fatigue life, it is what a fatigue life, okay. So now, so how are you going to define a life? Life of mobile, life of motorcycle, life of battery, how are you going to define? ಹೆಂಗೆ ಡಿಫೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ ಲೈಫ್?
Depend upon quality, sir.
Depend upon quality, okay.
In terms of years, sir.
In terms of years, okay.
Depends on number of times it has been used for application.
Depends upon number of times it has been used for application, right, okay. Now fatigue life is defined as, okay, a component or a standard specimen is subjected to number of stress cycles, okay, can complete, okay, can complete during the test before the appearance of the first fatigue crack appears, before the appearance of the first fatigue crack or first fatigue crack growth, okay. So that is called as a life, okay. Fatigue life means what? It is a number of cycles, okay. So it is going to complete during the test, okay, before the appearance of the first fatigue crack, so it is called as a fatigue life, okay. Normally, so the fatigue cycles are measured in terms of 10 to the power of 6 because you cannot conduct the test for unlimited number of cycles. That is what if you take example of your two-wheeler crankshaft, so you don't know how many number of revolutions is going to take. So are you going to get the value of how many number of revolutions is going to take place? Is it no? Okay. So similarly, so the analysis is done for this endurance limit is taking as a 10 to the power of 6 cycles as a base, okay. So 10 to the power of 6 as a 10 to the power of 6 cycles as a base, okay. So now based on this one, so they have conducted experiment, okay. Now how the values are obtained here, how the endurance limit or the fatigue limit values are obtained, okay. So now this is conducted with the help of the fatigue test equipment, okay, fatigue test apparatus, okay, fatigue test apparatus, okay, right. So now it has been invented by an English man, that is what R.R. Morey, okay. So he has invented, so he has conducted n number of experiments and he has got a result. So what is the meaning of that is what is the value of endurance limit for how many number of cycles it is going to sustain, okay. Now and standard specimen is preferred here, so similar to that of tensile test machine, okay. But in this case, so in tensile it is going to be subjected to axial loads, but here it is subjected to cyclic loads, okay. Now this is a specimen, so it has a shoulder at both end as well as support, okay. So to hold this component in two jaws, okay. So it has a concave surface here, it is a concave surface, okay. So again you need to prefer these specimens based on some IS standards, so you need to follow some IS standards to for preparation of so specimens for test, okay. So length is it is 85 mm, Now diameter at minimum cross section. Okay, so diameter at minimum cross section, it is of 7.5 mm. Okay, now radius of curvature for this concave surfaces, it is of around 250 mm. Okay, radius. R is how much? It is a 250 mm. Okay. Now, so now this specimen is subjected to rotating. Okay, so that means it is subjected to bending load. Okay. It is subjected to bending load. Okay. Now, if you consider the section here, let us go for we'll go for one circle here. Okay, go for circle. Now for upper portion, okay, for lower portion, I'll just go for making some points here. Let us take a point A here, okay, on top surface. Okay, on top surface. Okay. Now you just imagine, now if the point is A here, okay, so if you apply the load here, so now what type of stress will occur at point A? Now load is here, it is just like a simply supported. You just imagine it is just like a simply supported beam. Okay, load is acting at exactly center point. Okay, now you give me what type of stress is going to act on point A now.
Tangential stress.
As I said, it is a simply supported beam. As I said, it is simply supported beam. You just give me what type of stress is going to occur at point A here.
Bending stress.
Okay, what type of bending stress? Whether a bending stress is compressive or tensile?
Compressive.
Okay, so now
Compressive.
you just look out. Now for rest position, it is subjected to compressive bending stress, right? Let us take, I have rotated for 90 degree here. I have rotated for 90 degree. Now how much, now what is the possible stress at here? Now it has been moved to next point A1. Now what is the stress at point A1?
Tensile bending stress.
Tensile bending. Just imagine what type of stress you are going to get at point A1 now. That is what I just rotated the beam, okay, 90 degree. I rotated the beam 90 degree here. So A point is shifted to here, it is a horizontal position, that is what A1. Now whether it is going to subject it to any type of stress or it does not subject it to stress. ಯಾವ ಟೈಪ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಸ್ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ?
Sir, compressive stress ಬರ್ತೈತ್ರಿ.
No, think over it. Now it is exactly in a plane of neutral axis. It is exactly in a plane of neutral axis now, right? Now are you going to get any type of stress if it is on neutral axis plane? Are you going to get any stress at neutral axis plane? Are you going to get?
No, sir.
No. Then A1 is not subjected to any type of stress. Okay, now it has a zero stress. Now I will rotate another 90 degree. Now A is shifted to A2 here. Okay, now it is going to come at this point. Right now, what type of stress will occur at point A2? Now I have rotated another 90 degree here. Okay, now what type of stress occurs here?
Tensile bending stress.
Okay, now in this case it is subjected to tensile bending stress, right? Now if I again rotate here, point A3. Okay, what type of stress will occur?
No stress at
No stress at all. Okay, no stress at all. Is it right? Okay. So now in this case stress is 0. Now if you draw the diagram, okay, now I'll start here because I had taken point A here. Okay, now at 0, okay, 0 rotation, so it has a tensile stress. At 90 degree it has a 0, that means this point. Again if you take another 90 degree, now you have a compressive stress. Again if you take a 90 degree, it does not have any stress. Again if you take a 90 degree, it is going to subject it to tensile stress. So in a similar way the component is subjected to, okay, so the component is subjected to cyclic stresses. Got it? How the component is subjected to cyclic stresses? One time it is going to be subjected to compressive stress, another time it is subjected to tensile stress. I think I had drawn this diagram as a reverse. Okay, we took earlier it as a compressive, we need to start from here. Okay, you just have it. Okay, so I start here. Okay, otherwise you just analyze from this point, take A. Okay, so A1, A2, A3. So you know, just this is for your reference purpose. Okay, right now. Now in this case, in this R.R. Moore experiment, so it is what the principle of rotating beam. Okay, principle of rotating beam. Okay. So now a beam is of circular cross section subjected to bending. Okay, so under the action of bending moment. So now as I seen, tensile stresses are induced in the upper half of the beam and compressive stresses induced in the lower half of the beam. Okay, so now you just look out what I said. Now according to the R.R. Moore, experiment, so now this top portion is subjected to tensile bending stress, right? So bottom portion is subjected to compressive bending stress. Now all these arrangements are made in apparatus. So but actually if you consider for simple analysis, you are going to get this as a compressive, you are going to get this as a tensile. Is it right? So but arrangement is such a way that so upper portion is subjected to tensile bending stress, lower portion is subjected to compressive bending stress. Okay. So now the specimen is rotated by an electric motor. Just wait a minute, I will draw the diagram, rough diagram here, not exact diagram. Okay. Now, so apparatus is in such a way that, so it is an electric motor. Okay. So now it is connected with a counter here. It is connected with a counter. Okay. So this again you have some two supports here. You have some two supports here to hold the hold the specimen. Okay. So now here you are going to place a specimen. Here you are going to place a specimen. Okay. So now these two supports are subjected to load here. These two supports are subjected to load. Okay. Right. So now as you start electric motor. Okay. So counter is set in terms of 10 to the power of 6 cycles base. Okay. 10 to the power of 6 cycle base. Now as it starts rotating. Okay. So as you seen, it is subjected to upper portion subjected to tensile bending stress, lower portion subjected to compressive bending stress. Okay. So as it rotating, sometimes lower portion is coming upper side, upper portion is coming lower side. It is repeated continuously. Okay. Now the point is what? Let us say earlier you have seen a point A. Okay. Earlier you have seen a point A. So that is what point A, one time it is subjected to tensile stress, one time it is subjected to compressive stress. Now, so it rotated so number of cycles that, so it has to record fatigue, first fatigue crack on a revolution counter. Okay. First fatigue crack on a revolution counter. Okay. So in each test two readings are taken. Okay. One is what? Stress amplitude. Okay. One is what? Stress amplitude. in each set 2 readings are taken. Okay. So, one is based on counter, how many number of cycles it has been withstand, number of cycles it has been withstand. So, next based on, so what is stress amplitude you have applied based on the load. Okay. What is the stress amplitude you have applied based on the load. Okay. Right. So, how we have calculated amplitude stress or variable stress? This is what sigma minimum minus sigma max divided by 2. Now, this is what a stress amplitude. Okay. So, you need to note down based on application of load. Okay. Now, for this amount of stress, how many number of cycles it has been sustained? How many number of cycles it has been sustained? Okay. Now, you got a 2 readings here for every test. Okay. So, first is what? Number of cycles. Okay. Second, you have noted what is the stress amplitude, right? Stress amplitude. Now these readings are plotted with the 2 coordinates. Okay, plotted as a 2 coordinates. So one is what? Drawing a cycle, number of cycles along horizontal axis, and stress amplitude in a vertical axis. So this diagram is called as an drawing of number of cycles and stress amplitude for different loads. Okay, for different loads you need to draw the diagram. So that diagram is called as a SN curve. The diagram is called as a SN curve or SN diagram. SN curve or SN diagram. Okay. Now, so as conducted n number of experiments here, n number of experiments, you are going to get a lot of data here. Okay. I am just drawing, noting here. You may get number of cycles here. Okay. You may get stress amplitude here. Okay. Right. You are going to get n number of results. Okay. So if you draw these results, okay, in an SN diagram, okay, now just look out here. Now we'll go for another slide. Next slide. Okay. Now this has been drawn with respect to log base to E. Now this is what S. Okay. That is what the stress, endurance stress, and here it is a log base N. That is what number of cycles. Okay. So now these number of cycles are in terms of 10 to the power of 6. In terms of 10 to the power of 6. Okay. Now we are going to draw the points here. We are going to draw the points. Now after some amount of load, okay, so you are going to get the points in this way. So now this diagram is for steel. Okay, this diagram is for steel. For different material you may get a different SN curve. You may get a different SN curve. So if you have a data in book, you just check it. So the SN curves for materials. Okay. Now these are the points plotted based on the scatter points, plotted based on the result. Okay. So now you can call these as a failure points. Okay, failure points. So now for safer design, so your limit should be a little bit. Now this is what a straight line, little bit lesser than the failure points, right? Now, if you consider for this steel material, you can just look out here. For n number of cycles, so the failure points almost all remains the same here, right? The failure points almost all remains the same. Now the minimum strength, okay, now the minimum strength which can sustain for n number of revolutions, okay, or unlimited number of revolutions, so that is called as a endurance limit. Endurance limit. Okay, right? So now this has been done in 1870. One more engineer, that's what August Walver. Okay, so August Walver and R.R. More. Okay, R.R. More. So these two persons have conducted a number of experiments. So they have drawn this SN curve. Okay, SN curve. Okay, now I think SN curve is clear, endurance limit is clear, fatigue life is clear. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So next you have to classify what type of failure occurs, whether the component is going to fail under low cycle fatigue or under high cycle fatigue. Okay. So now, if you consider the elaborated diagram of this SN curve, okay, now I just drawn here, it is a roughly. Now I will go for low cycle and high cycle, low cycle and high cycle fatigue. So SU means it is a sigma u, SC means it is a sigma A. Okay. Now, so now this point has to come for sixth one. Okay, this point to come for sixth one. Okay. Now again these are the failure points. Again these are failure points. Okay. Now, if a component is going to make a failure, okay, for 1000 cycles only, for 1000 cycles only. Okay. So you just look out, it is a 3 here. Okay. So now the values are log base to 10. Okay. So here n, it is what number of cycles here, number of cycles. Okay. On this side you have an endurance strength and ultimate strength. Okay. If a component is going to make a failure, okay, in range of 1000 cycles, okay, in range of 1000 cycles, so then you can say it is a low cycle failure, okay, or low cycle fatigue failure. Okay, low cycle fatigue failure. If a component is going to fail more than 10,000 cycles, more than 1000 cycles, then you can say it is high cycle fatigue failure, right? High cycle fatigue failure. So now these are the two cases. These are the two cases. Okay. Now, as I said, so any fatigue failure when the number of stress cycles are less than 1000, okay, less than 1000, so is called low cycle fatigue. Any fatigue failure when number of cycles are more than 1000 is called high cycle fatigue failure. Okay. So for example, so low cycle fatigue failure. So sometimes the failure of studs on a truck wheels. Okay. So failure of set screws for locating the gears. Okay. So these are some called as a low cycle fatigue failure. Okay. Again, so if you want to design the components based on the low cycle fatigue failure and high cycle fatigue failure. Okay. So now for designing the components under low cycle fatigue failure, you need to consider large amount of factor of safety. Okay, large amount of factor of safety, right? So if you want to design the high cycle fatigue failure components, so then you go for little low what is it called, factor of safety. Okay, right? You need to go for large amount of factor of safety if you want to design the components, or if the components are going to be fall in a category of low cycle fatigue failure, then you go for high amount of factor of safety. Okay, so the low cycle fatigue failure involves plastic yielding. Okay, plastic yielding at localized areas of the component. Okay, so there are some theories of failures of low cycle fatigue failure. So as I said, you need to consider the greater factor of safety for design, to get it in a safer condition. To get it in a safer conditions. Okay. So next, how you need to design the components when they are subjected to cyclic loads. When they are subjected to cyclic loads. So for designing the components under the cyclic load, so you have a different theories here. You have a different theories. So one theory is what, a Soderberg relationship. Soderberg relationship. Second one is Goodman relationship. Goodman relationship. One is Gerber relationship. Gerber relationship. Okay. So again, these theories are plotted based on failure points. Based on the failure points. So look at this series next. Before that one, you need to consider some more parameters here. So for analysis purpose, okay, for analysis purpose, suppose if the component is of a uniform cross section, if the component is a uniform cross section, so whatever took a stress concentration factor, it has a 1. Okay, it has a 1. Suppose if the component is, okay, if the component is of variation in cross section, then you need to find out the fatigue stress concentration factor. Okay. So for example, so you have seen, okay, so component is here. Okay, so it has a groove. Okay, it is subjected to torque. It has a groove here, right? So I think you have remembered, you have calculated KT here. You have calculated KT. So you have used that KT to calculate the maximum stress. Okay, right? Is it right? So sigma max can be calculated as KT into sigma nominal, or KT can be calculated as sigma max divided by sigma nominal. Is it right? Now in this case, you need to find out this fatigue stress concentration factor. Okay, you need to find out fatigue stress concentration factor. Okay. Fatigue stress concentration factor. Okay. Now how you have defined a normal stress concentration factor here? It is the maximum stress at a localized point. Okay, to the nominal stress at that particular point. Okay, so you call it as a stress concentration factor. Okay, similarly here, so the fatigue stress concentration factor is defined as, okay, fatigue stress concentration factor is defined as, now it is noted with the letter Kf here. Fatigue stress concentration factor is noted with the letter Kf. Okay, this is defined as endurance limit. Now look out. So endurance limit without stress concentration, without stress concentration, okay, to the endurance limit with stress concentration, with stress concentration. Okay, so you need to apply this fatigue stress concentration factor. So when you are designing a component for the cyclic loads, or when a component is subjected to fatigue load, so you need to use this fatigue stress concentration factor. Okay, so now this fatigue stress concentration factor is associated with one more term. This is called as a notch sensitivity. Notch sensitivity. Okay, so notch sensitivity is defined as susceptibility. Okay, that means the susceptibility so of a material to succumb to the damaging effects of stress rising notches in fatigue loading. Okay, so it is what suspecting the material to succumb to the damaging effects of a stress rising notches in fatigue loading. Okay, so you have a number of notch sensitivity curves in the data handbook. So now based on the material as well as based on the notch radius, you can identify the notch sensitivity index. Okay, so now it is defined as, I'll just write in the definition form. Okay, notch sensitivity so it is noted with the letter Q. It is noted with the letter Q. Okay, so it is defined as Q equal to increase of actual stress over nominal stress divided by increase of theoretical stress over nominal stress. You can just observe here. Now it is what actual to the theoretical. Okay. So now, as I said, so the fatigue stress concentration factor is associated with the notch sensitivity index. Okay. So we have a relations to find out the notch sensitivity in association with stress concentration factor, fatigue stress concentration factor. Okay. Now, so now this Q equal to Kf minus 1 divided by Kt minus 1. Okay. So now by this equation you can find out Kf equal to Q Kt minus 1, okay, plus 1. Now this relation is used to find out the fatigue stress concentration factor. This relation is used to find out the fatigue stress concentration factor. Okay. So let us look out in data handbook. Okay. So let us look out in data handbook. I hope everyone have this PDF file. Okay, I hope everyone has a PDF file. Now look out this equation number 2.4, right? So in data handbook they have gone for KTF. KTF stands for fatigue stress concentration factor. Okay, so you can use equation number 2.5, okay, to get the fatigue stress concentration factor. KTF equal to 1 plus Q in bracket KT minus 1. I just written this term as a first. Okay, I think I have written this term as a first here. Okay, this Q term as a first, then KT minus 1, this plus 1. Is it clear? You can refer equation number 2.4 and 2.5 to find out the fatigue stress concentration factor. Okay, so one more thing, I said you have some relations. Okay, that is what Goodman and Soderberg relations. I'll say okay. So now here, so now these are the fatigue failure equations. That is what relations. So on left hand side you have a variable stress. Okay, on bottom side you have a average stress. Okay, we'll derive these two equations. That is what Goodman line as well as Soderberg line we are going to derive. Okay, in coming classes. Now mainly you have three type of failures here. That is what Gerber relations, Goodman relation, and Soderberg relations. Okay, Soderberg relations, right? So now you have a safe Soderberg line. Okay, you have a safe Goodman line. You come to know how you can use these relations to calculate the or to design the components. Okay, next. I said one more term, it is a notch sensitivity. Okay, right? Is it right? Notch sensitivity. We'll come across stress concentration factor. Stress concentration factor. Okay, so now this is what the figure average notch sensitivity. Okay, so now it is only meant for curvatures here. That means if you have a groove or if you have a what again shoulder fillet. Okay, so now okay you can get the form stress factor for gear tooth. Okay, so we just leave it. Okay, now this is what modified Goodman diagram. Let it be. Now you just observe here. Suppose if the notch radius are in mm, if they specify notch radius is 3 mm, okay, material used is aluminum wrought alloys, then you just pick up here, then you brought here, then you notify what is the notch sensitivity. Okay, so for almost all steels quenched and tempered, okay, so it is 1, it is of 1. Okay, now if you look out steel normalized or annealed, so you just look out, for example, if you want to get for 2 mm notch radius. Okay, now you just move up here, then you identify. Now it is approximately how much? So 0.88. Okay, 0.8 normally. So they will provide the notch sensitivity index. If they are not provided, then based on the diagram and based on the notch radius, you can find out the value of Q here. You can find out value of Q. Okay, I hope it is clear. Okay, so now let us go to the another two terms, okay, which are related to the entrance limit. Okay, which are related to the entrance limit. Okay. So now, okay. Now, as you seen, the fatigue failure or this, what I can say, the stress, okay, the endurance stress is depends on other factors. That is what a size factor, surface factor, as well as the load, that is what a stress amplitude, whether it is subjected to creep or whether it has a corrosion, all those parameters. Okay, so along with that one, another three important parameters are there. Another three important factors are there which are going to affect the endurance limit. Okay, endurance limit. So those factors are called as endurance modifying factors. Okay, endurance limit, modifying factors. Okay, so first one is size effect. Okay, second one is surface effect or surface finish effect. Okay, so third one, it is what stress concentration effect. Okay, so one more is there, it is a load effect also. Okay, we'll go for load effect, that means loading effect. Okay, so fourth one is stress concentration effect. Okay, so we will discuss all these four parameters in next class. Okay, in next class, so just wait.